Alan Forsberg here with a framing video on food security versus food sovereignty. What's the difference?
The two Chinese characters for the word population are the character of a person and the character of an open mouth. Do you know how many people there are in the world today? For most of human history, our population increase has been slow and steady. But in the last 120 years, it has accelerated from 1.5 to more than 7 billion. Around 1 billion people, or 1 in 7, are chronically hungry. It is predicted that by the end of this century, we will welcome person number 11 billion. Experts agree the planet can definitely produce enough food for 11 billion, but they question whether we can do it in ways that are environmentally responsible and whether safe and nutritious foods will be distributed fairly. What we are talking about here is called food security. It's not a term you might have heard before, so let's define it. According to the United Nations, food security exists when all people at all times have physical and economic access to sufficient, safe and nutritious food to meet their dietary needs and food preferences for an active and healthy life. There are 4 dimensions of food security: availability, access, utilisation and stability.
Alright, so what's your name?
My name's Megan Carney.
Cool. And so what's the difference in food sovereignty and food security?
Okay, so I'm going to relay a 90-second version of how food security is different from food sovereignty. So food security has the definition of adequate access at all times to enough food to meet basic needs. So affordability and food safety are important components of food security. However, food security has been used by governments and multinational organizations to address the hunger and food insecurity that we have globally, but from a very top-down approach. So people at the ground level have had very little participation in food security policies historically. So it's considered to be a very exclusionary framework for addressing food insecurity and hunger, and doesn't really take into account the cultural sensitivities, the cultural and social acceptability by way of which people acquire their food, and it also has no component of rights discourse. So it's needs-based, meaning we meet people's needs calorically, but not that people have a right to food. So food sovereignty is a radically different framework from food security, and it's really about redistributing or reconfiguring power in the food system to initiate from the ground up. So it's very grassroots. Food sovereignty in its basic definition, like put forth by Via Campesina, the transnational leader for the food sovereignty movement, is that food sovereignty empowers people to act on their right to food. So it's the human right to food, and it's the people's right to determine their own food policies. So that governments or multilateral organizations like the World Bank, the IMF, the FAO, do not decide how people are going to eat, when they're going to eat, what they're going to eat, that is a regionally and culturally specific task, and that communities want to take it upon themselves to exercise food sovereignty. So why is this all important? Well, community food security work is about empowering communities to engineer their own solutions to food insecurity and hunger and production problems, corporate control in the food system. Food sovereignty is about removing that corporate control of the food system, restoring power for democratically organized food systems, and really doing so in a way that is culturally and socially and spiritually, economically acceptable, and environmentally acceptable. So there's the short history breakdown of these two different sort of approaches to our global food problems.
Right on. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
faut qu'on contrôle nos ressources. Parce qu'on ne peut pas abandonner notre main, notre terre, parce que c'est notre seule survie. Nous, nos terres, c'est notre unique survie.
Para nosotros del movimiento y para nosotros los campesinos y campesinas, indígenas y quilombolas de Brasil, las principales luchas están en términos de la tierra, tanto del acceso a la tierra, quanto a la defensa de la poca tierra que tenemos. Y nosotros, ao longo de la historia, estamos a ser saqueados por las transnacionales e por el agronegócio. Nuestras terras estão em las manos de ellos.
The main challenges of our time we are facing with controlling the resources, focusing on designing strategies that are going to allow local communities to be able to control access to land, access to fishing grounds, so that they can use these natural resources to sustain their livelihoods.
And in the food system, decisions are at the moment not taken by those involved. They're taken by people who sit in offices, who are far away from the reality of the land.
Many communities are now realizing that what is being put forward for us as a means of production, as a means of sustaining livelihood, is not for us.
I think we have to reject what we're told. For example, that carbon trading is the only practical solution to the issue of climate change, or that the only way to save the environment is to put a price to it.
Try to place the interests and needs of people into the center of our agriculture and food system instead of putting profits and the interests of transnational corporations.
The solutions are those that are based in life, continuity of life, not money and profits and more profits. The solutions are life-related. That is when you come up with the real solutions.
E nosotros pensamos que diante de todo isto nós temos alternativas. O movemento campesiño, o movemento cidadán ten alternativas. Unha desas grandes alternativas chamase soberanía alimentaria.
A soberania alimentar é uma das verdadeiras soluções para o enfriamento da temperatura global, né? Junto com a agroecologia campesina, porque é uma forma de cuidarmos da natureza, das relações sociais e produzir alimentos sanos para a humanidade. Quando nós falamos de construção de um projeto político pela soberania alimentar, todos os setores responsáveis pela produção de alimentos, nós temos pastores, nós temos pescadores, nós temos comunidades indígenas e povos originários, comunidades dos bosques, comunidades de rios, trabalhadores migrantes. Todos esses setores são responsáveis pela produção alimentar.
The solution is in the hands of people on the grassroots, because they are living with the land and they are facing all the problems coming from the climate change, and they are experienced enough to deal the thing, and they know how to adapt, how to mitigate the impact of climate change.
Faire l'agroécologie paysanne, il y a un pilier essentiel dans le cadre de la souveraineté alimentaire, c'est d'avoir la terre et l'eau. Parce que maintenant on parle du climat, on ne parle plus de la terre, mais non, au contraire, c'est que la solution, c'est d'abord de gagner les luttes de la terre et de l'eau pour pouvoir faire l'agroécologie paysanne, pour pouvoir apporter des solutions au changement climatique, pour avoir de la justice sociale. C'est d'abord par ça qu'il faut commencer.
We need to see people having access to land. We need to see people feeding their local people. That is the way forward.
One thing which is very, very important, and we recognize that nobody is going to give it to you.
And there's a lot more of us than there are of those lobbyists. There's a lot more of us who want healthy, affordable food. There's a lot more of us who want to have a healthy planet and a global food system that we all believe in. But if we don't get together and make our voice heard to the powers that be, then they win. And it's just a handful of those bastards, basically.
There's need for us to converge together and work together for our survival and the survival of this planet. Yes, and we are going to win.
Thank you.